Thursday at 6. Well, they said the Vancouver is not nice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Humans and Wildlife Show. Christian's laughing because I joined just a few seconds ago as the intro credits were playing. I just got back from my flight to Texas. It's also exciting. So, Christian, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, welcome, Georgia. You just made it. That's great. So this is really exciting, and I can see there are lots of viewers switching in, and that's all about my friend Jack Molan. It's about the most wonderful, probably I would say the most exciting times I've ever had in my life regarding wildlife and eagles. I mean, there's no doubt, there's nothing that comes even close to the experience in the Aleutian and Alaskan, and we're going to have Jack tell us all about it. So let's call in Jack straight away.
I know, right? But
Yeah.
the good.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, hi. Cool. Thanks for having
So
me.
I've had my own crazy travel day, but you have, from what I understand, kind of a lifetime of cool travel experiences, right? So tell us about, tell us about what it is that you've been up to.
Well, regarding eagles in Alaska, my life was kind of split between
you need help
and being up
with
working in Alaska. And then the thing that really triggered kind of the whole artistic part of it was going with Christian, because I didn't have to run a boat. I didn't have to take care of it. And he was so enthusiastic. I mean, you know how he is, right? He could make anybody excited. So we've had a couple of great trips together.
And then it's free.
We have a love for eagles, of course, but we have a great friendship too. So it's been great.
So Jack, let's jump straight into it. I'm going to now show your slideshow, and let me see if I can get us. Georgia, do you know how we switch? I don't know how that works again.
Yeah, so give me just 1 second. I'm going to switch over. I'm on my phone. I'm going to switch into the I'm going to switch into through my computer real quick. So I'll just be
okay, sure. But Jack, just go. Just start, and we'll figure the rest out. Go.
Well, it's kind of funny putting this together. I was looking for some kind of a title page, and this is actually what I use in my presentations when I speak to people all over the country. This was from my first book, You Can't Make This Stuff Up, and it's 10 short stories of my life as a captain and some of the crazy things we did, and one good eagle story. I can't tell you what happened in there, but it was the most scared I was ever in Alaska in my life. Was from a pair of eagles. It wasn't from 40-foot waves, because I've thought about this a lot. The 40-foot waves could care less, but the eagles were very determined. So if you get a chance, read that chapter. It's a lot of fun. We're going to go through a few slides, give you an example of like where the heck is Dutch Harbor, where the heck are the Aleutian Islands. Most people think they might know, but it's really it's kind of an anomaly where they're at. So are we going to be able to switch slides here, or are we?
Yes, you can, Jack. Jack, just go ahead. Yes, you can.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
You should be able to control it, I think.
Settings.
No, if you can't, I can do it for you if you want to. I'll switch. I'll just switch to slide number 2 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helps a lot, Christian. I'll just tell you to switch.
Sure.
So from Seattle, Washington, just to give you a quick geography lesson, from Seattle, Washington, and you see these guys on TV, how far north do you think you need to go to get to Dutch Harbor, to get out to the Aleutian Islands? And I oftentimes ask this on public speaking, and most of the answers, you feel like you're 1,000 miles north, 3,000 miles north, whatever. But in reality, you're only 300 miles north of Seattle when you're in the Aleutian Islands. And you can see the red line there. When I take a boat up from Seattle, I go 300 miles north, and then I turn left, and I actually have to go southwest to get down to Dutch Harbor. But when you're out in Dutch Harbor, believe it or not, you're 500 miles west of Hawaii. Think about that for a minute. So we're not that far north, but we are way, way, way out west. In fact, the end of the Aleutian Islands, they have to jog the date line around it just to keep it in the same day, because that's as far west as New Zealand. So go ahead and switch there, if you could, Christian.
I'm just trying to figure out how to get you at least on the screen, but I haven't managed that yet.
Okay, whatever it takes. I'm here. But the Aleutians are a chain, 1,200-mile chain of volcanic islands. They're all volcanic. One side of them, it goes down to 25,000 feet. So that 10,000-foot mountain there is actually 35,000-foot mountain. But on the north side is the Bering Land Bridge. It's very shallow, and that's where all the life is. That's why we have eagles, because it's the most productive place for fish in the world. It's an amazing place. Go ahead, Christian. So if you come in and land to Dutch Harbor, this is what you're going to see in the summer. There are no trees. Okay? They told the guys in World War II that there was a girl behind every tree. Well, guess what? There ain't no trees. Go ahead and switch, Christian. So what happens then is, let's say, hold on. There we go. Since we don't have any trees, the eagles have to perch somewhere. It's the most plentiful, highly populated eagle place on Earth, I heard. Now, these eagles are hanging out on a boat because they don't like being on the ground. Not necessarily. If they can get off the ground, that's something that they will do. So we'll talk about more of this as we go along there. So go ahead. Okay, so this is typical on my boat. A fishing boat is a perfect attractor. It's like a magnet for eagles because they love fish. That's their preferred diet. You can see them down below even. They're all over the place. I come up with a cup of coffee and I go, oh, I think I better grab my camera, take some pictures. Because we come in with little chunks of fish in our nets and that's what they do. They clean our nets for us and they congregate. I've counted as many as 60 eagles just on my boat. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I never did get tired of it. I'll tell you, I never did. A lot of my cohorts, they just kind of ignored them, but I was always fascinated with these magnificent creatures. So go ahead. Now, a few years ago, well, it's been a few years, Christian could tell me when, but I got a phone call from Vancouver, Canada. And I thought it was a prank call, but I answered it, and it was Christian. And he says, "Hey, I'm Christian, and I'm an eagle photographer." And he says, "You're causing quite he says your photos are causing quite a stir in the eagle community." And I said, "Really? Really? I never knew there was an eagle community, but I was posting them on Facebook, and they were getting passed around." So typical Christian, he went right to the source, man. He says, "Hey, I gotta go up. I gotta find out where you're at. I gotta do this for myself." I said, "Okay, let's put a trip together." So we did. We put our first trip together, and go ahead and change. And that's another great example right there of eagles staying off the ground.
Those eagles look like they're about to start a band. Like you couldn't get them to pose better than that. They're a boy band of eagles.
They're surprisingly social. They're not during nesting season. They're very they don't hang around during nesting season. But in the wintertime, they know where the food is down here on the boats, so they just come down and hang out. It's really fun. So I took Christian up our first trip. Go ahead and change the slide, please. And being on a boat, you get opportunities. You can actually swing the boat around and get the wind in the right direction or the light. It's like the perfect eagle studio. And I was just learning how to take pictures. I mean, I literally started out with a little digital camera. And then I bumped it up to a Costco, the cheapest Canon Rebel. But so it was really I went crazy. I took a lot of photos over a couple of years, and then I upped my camera game. And then I went with Christian, and of course he brought an 800 millimeter lens. This thing looks like a bazooka, right? And he brought it to Dutch Harbor, and pretty soon he's going, I should have brought my wide angle lens. I don't need an 800 millimeter lens, because these are wild animals. They truly are. They're every bit of wild, but they're used to being around people, and people are used to being around them. And
we have a question. When they're all grouped together like that, are they quiet? Are they making a lot of noise? Mara Gross asks.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Like these 5 right here, I call them the Supreme Court, because they look how different they are from each other. Each face, I swear they have different personalities, and this is part of what formed my next book. But you got cowards, and you got bullies, and you've got mean ones. Anyway, they'll be like this for a half an hour, not doing anything, and then somebody's going to peck on somebody, and then they all get in a fight, and then they kind of rearrange on the rail, and they're all fine again, and they start preening. It's the funniest thing. I don't know why they do that, but it's definitely an eagle behavior, at least up in here. These are bigger eagles than the lower 488 also, because they eat so good. So go ahead.
So, yeah, another quick question. As it's so cool to hear about your eagle photography and how you went about it. A question from Gentleman Ghost, sort of more generally about what brought you to the place where you're encountering all these birds. Have you been sailing, sticking to the islands, or have you also gone out into deeper sea near the Diomede Islands?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. That's a good question. The Diomedes are very interesting. They're 2 islands that are divided by the Russian-American border, and they're only 1.5 miles apart. And each island can't visit each other. And they're natives that are, related. So yes, I've been all the way up and around to the top and down to Canada. I drove as a captain, I drove a research vessel for a couple of years. And I got a whole nother slideshow on polar bears and walrus and just amazing things that we got to do because we were permitted and we were scientists, and we got to go right in there and do that sort of stuff. So I've been really fortunate that way. So this is a really, go ahead.
Oh yeah, another quick question from Terry Green. Where does the nesting usually occur, and does the nesting choice make them more prone to encounter predators? Obviously she says obviously they've been successful at nesting, right? Because there's so many of them. But what are mating observations, nesting observations?
Yeah, well, there's no trees. And so the occasional light pole makes a nest, but generally they nest up in the cliffs, in the rocks. And I have stumbled on a nest that was just in the deep grass on the edge of a cliff. And they don't have any predators up there that I know of. They have foxes, and I think the foxes, they're not dumb enough to go after an eagle, but they will go after the eggs. So they try to get out there on the edge of the cliffs and the sea stacks and that sort of thing. Other than that, they've got a pretty good life. They've got a lot of fish coming in, a lot of the year.
And is it mainly eagles, or are there also other birds of prey?
That's a really good question. There are snow owls, believe it or not. I have a crazy short story where I was 200 miles out at sea between Nome and Dutch Harbor, which is the Bering Sea stretch, and this white-faced snow owl flew right by me and looked in my window, and I thought I was seeing things. I had no idea there'd be an owl out there, and he flew around us quite a few times, and then he landed on our boat, I think, to get some rest. And I talked to a biologist later, and he said that the snow owls will migrate across the Bering Sea in the dead of winter. So, and I saw someone ask a question why there's no trees. There are redwood tree forests buried in the sand up there, petrified forests. There's evidence of lush greenery everywhere in the Aleutians, but it is so windy and so cold so much of the year. They've tried to plant like pine trees and that, and they just can't survive. The air's too salty, and it blows 2 gales a week on average, which when you string a gale together with another gale, that's about 6 days out of the week. So it's always windy.
And then we had another question that I didn't quite understand, but something about why why the eagles don't come so far. Or sorry, the question was, do the southern eagles ever come this far? I don't know what this far means. Christian, do you know where Mara is located at?
She's probably wondering if they ever come that far south or come down out of Alaska. And that would be a question for Christian.
I think the question is probably whether they come from the East Coast, right? They definitely will come up from the Pacific Northwest, because that's what David Hancock has been following for years, right? The prevailing winds that go up in July and take the eagles all the way up to Alaska, and then across the Aleutians. You'll know that very well. But I don't know if they... we would have to look at some tracking history for eagles, but I've heard that eagles go right across, right across the states, right across Canada, and I assume there are some that would also migrate that way.
Yeah, I would hate to say, I almost remember David Hancock saying those Aleutian eagles are special. They got it made. They're not going anywhere, kind of thing.
They are bigger. They're bigger for sure. Yes, they are.
And they're well fed. Yep. So let's see what else we got for a slide here.
Yeah, these pictures are beautiful. We have a lot of positive comments. I say that right before maybe a not quite so beautiful photo.
Okay, this is me taking Christian.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
No, let's stay here.
We met in Anchorage for the first time. I mean, we talked on the phone quite a bit. And, of course, flying out to Dutch Harbor from Anchorage is 3.5 hours in a very small airplane. And I don't know if we got stalled that trip or not. I know we got stalled the trip before. I had a guy, and I need to tell people this, a couple of things about going to Dutch Harbor. Dutch Harbor is an industrial town. It's the only reason it's there. It's the most prolific fishing grounds in the world, and every dock is basically locked up and held by security. They take it pretty seriously. And I'm able to access these docks because that was my business. I have the clearances. And also, just getting out there, I had a guy kind of ignore me, and he took off on a 5-day vacation to go out to Dutch Harbor. And he spent 4 days in Anchorage waiting for the weather to clear so he could fly out there. And he ended up burning up all his money and had to turn around and fly home. He never got a single picture. So I'm not trying to disillusion you, but it's a really tough place to just go as a tour. There are no tourists. There is no tourist. There's just nothing. I mean, it's all trucks and mud and snow and people moving fast because they're making a living. So anyway, I'll stop on that. But anyway, this is fun. We brought this little eagle along, and I forgot to ask Christian that we actually put that eagle down into a bunch of eagles, and an immature eagle kept rubbing his beak against it. I thought he was going to snatch it and take off, but he didn't.
The stuffed animal eagle. They were very curious.
Yeah. What do you call it? Can't think of the name of those things. They were really popular 20 years ago.
It's not a beanie baby, is it?
Yeah, it's a beanie baby. Exactly.
Oh, it is. Okay.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, like Christian said, let's move on.
I'm just kidding. Christian's keeping us here now.
He's doing technical work.
Yeah, he's just sent me a private message that he lost audio. I'll text him to go to the next slide. It's a shame you don't have pictures of the adult eagles interacting with the beanie baby eagle. I feel like that would be really cute, a cute video to see.
Okay, let me see here.
Oh, here we go. Here's the next image is up now.
Or he do that? Because I just changed something on my setting. I don't want to get too involved technical wise, but this is a great story, folks. Well, this would be our first day in Alaska, and you can see the landscape there. It's snowing, and I knew this female hung out at this place, so I took Christian there the very first thing. She's an older female. She's 30 years old, the biologist thought. You can see her. She's kind of disheveled, feathers, and she's missing an eye. One of her eyes. Had, eagles, when they get in fights, sometimes they get injured. Their eyes get injured. So anyway, this this lady sits here and these guys right out here in this field are working on fishing nets. They're repairing fishing nets. And what always comes with torn up nets is it comes with chunks of fish. So she sits there and they toss her fish all day. Every time they come across a fish, they toss her a fish. And this is her retirement plan. This is her old folks home right here. She's got it dialed. She won't let anybody else on that pipe. I've seen her chase younger guys off, thinking they could get part of the bounty. But sure enough, she was actually an inspiration in my book for. Let me see if I can. No.
Yeah.
Too bad. I had control here.
I think Christian's doing it. Christian can hear us now, so maybe
Okay.
he's nodding. Yeah. Christian looks amazed in this photo. He's like, the glory of the eagle is really hitting him.
Have you ever heard of the term slack-jawed?
Yeah.
This eagle, this is that female with one eye. She was down on the end of the pipe, and she turned and saw Christian and me getting set up for a longer shot, and she flew up and stood right in front of him and did a pirouette. And he was astounded. He was beyond himself. He just couldn't believe it. It was like she knew, she did a little jig for him. And I don't even think he got this shot. I got it. I was laughing so hard. But
Yeah.
I think he had the wrong lens to get something that close. So welcome to Alaska, Christian. It was a great moment.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And as we're talking about this amazing lady eagle, a question from Judy Everidge. How can one tell if an eagle is either a male or a female?
Mostly it's by the size. And they pretty much have to be side by side to be able to tell. And then I like to make the joke that, the female is always pecking on the male. So you can just tell that they rule the roost. The females are bad to the bone, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon in raptors in general that the female is a little bit bigger than the male, as I understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they look just the same. Yeah, same coloring, the whole thing. So, all right. So this is the setup from that previous
outside a
picture.
Safeway.
It's right next to a Safeway parking lot. And see, this was my description of an industrial town. This is the Safeway, but look behind it are all the 40-foot vans full of fish, full of crab. And the lady I know behind Christian over there, she's yelling at me, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're photographing eagles." She thought we were crazy because it's such a common thing, So
yeah,
it was a great shot showing.
That's what happens when you go to rural areas, and you just like the city folk like me are like,
Yep.
oh, amazed, and yeah, it's nothing new for the people there.
Yeah.
A question from James Bourne: if Dutch Harbor is so isolated, how does all the fish get to the market? Is it shipped, flown, frozen for transport?
Yes to all. Those vans you see back there, James, those are full of fish, crab, halibut, everything. And they are put on big ships and sent down south, usually to Seattle, and then they're distributed that way. Or over to Asia. A lot of it goes to Asia. And everything gets frozen. Most of it's frozen out at sea. So they come in and unload the frozen product. It's very, very plentiful, very sustainable fisheries. It's an amazing place. Okay. Is he there? Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
So this is just typical of what we were doing. I would take Christian around to these locations, find out where these eagles were hanging out, and you just walk up to them. You don't walk up aggressively, of course. You just walk up slowly, and my rule is if they don't fly off, you're going to get a good picture, because they're so used to people. I mean, that's a walkway out to a dock, and there's a lot of shots like this. So let's see if we can.
So I do have one quick question, actually, because Christian is in such a poofy coat in this photo. He looks like a little penguin. We have a question. What is the average yearly temperature there, or just how cold is it there? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will point out one funny thing, and then I'll answer that. Christian never wears gloves. I'm freezing. My hands are freezing, and I'm operating a camera and you look at Christian and his hands are steaming. I don't know why. He's got these incredibly warm hands, but it was probably 25 to 35 Fahrenheit when we were there. We were there in March. March is a pretty brutal month, but it's a great month before the eagles go nest. And it's windy a lot. When the wind blows, it's cold. You got to wear double clothing and usually some kind of a rain protection. But it's not as cold. It's not nearly as cold as the interior of Alaska. 10 degrees would be a really cold day in Dutch Harbor because you're surrounded by the sea, and the sea moderates the temperatures very much so. So it's the interior that gets so darn cold. So we don't struggle with that. There we go.
This is an eagle that's having a bad day.
You know, this eagle's is kind of a story. We got up one morning and it's snowing like crazy. I mean, it's like a blizzard, and I'm going, "Oh, Christian, I'm really sorry. You know, I wish we didn't have snow." And he goes, "Oh, this is fantastic. You know," he says, "It's wonderful that it's snowing. We'll get great shots with the snow." So this is the result of the snowstorm. This about 4-year-old was he was just kind of exotic looking, so he became part of my new book. But anyway, that was an inspiration.
Two quick questions. First, why is his face so black? Is he dirty or?
No, he's just changing. His beak is just starting to bleed yellow, and his forehead and his mane, I guess you'd call it, all those dark feathers have to come out for the white head to appear. So he's probably a half a year away from full maturity, something like that.
Yeah, he's just having an awkward molting face.
In any of these profiles, you'll always see they're looking at me or looking at Christian. They're the pupils. They never take their pupils off you, even from the side. They always know what you're doing. So.
Yeah, someone says, does anyone watch Deadliest Catch? Eagles galore on their boats? That's from Melody CS. And then Lynn Bedanza says, I had an eagle fly right in front of my car to grab a roadkill and was gone. I couldn't believe I saw that. They're amazing. Yeah, so many cool eagle stories.
I got to tell you, yeah, I mean, I've seen thousands of eagles, but, you know, if I'm in my car or on my bike and I see an eagle, you know, I slow down. It's just a captivating sort of thing. And yeah, Deadliest Catch is a show I'm very familiar with. I know most of the guys, and believe it or not, they don't like crab boats. The eagles don't like crab boats because they prefer fish. And
yeah, they don't have all those special crab eating tools like we do.
Right.
Fish is a much easier.
They'll crack into a crab, but they much prefer soft fish. But we did have an experience, Christian and I, where we saw this. It looked like a beehive of eagles circling this boat at the dock. I mean, it was like a whirlwind of eagles. And we went up there to see what was going on. It was a crab boat. And I said, Christian, they never go on crab boats. Well, what happened was the crew had loaded 10,000 pounds of herring in boxes and gone to the bar. And these eagles got in there and ripped these boxes open. And herring is like crack cocaine. It's their favorite food. So they were having a heyday on this. We were having pretty fun taking some pictures of that. It's a good one.
And real quick, you've mentioned a few times now your book, but I don't know that you've really talked about it. Could you tell us real quick about it?
Yeah, of course. If you're ever lucky enough in life to have Christian take your photo, the premier eagle photographer of the world, that's what happened here. I was done. My hands are cold. You see, I got gloves on. And this eagle went by like I was walking him, and Christian got a shot of it. So I'm currently finishing up a novel. I started this novel quite a while ago, and it's been, on again, off again, on again, off again. But I got this feeling as I lived around these eagles, and they were in such large groups, or they were in groups, but I came to call it eagle clans. And from there, I wrote a novel based on, I might have a picture of it here, of a young eagle that is kind of the reluctant hero. And, his clans are all dependent on him. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have it on my Facebook page, my website and stuff. So you have to watch for it.
That sounds like a lot of, like a lot of fun. Everyone keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I put a lot of facts
and just
in
a fun
there,
project to work on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I the things I know about eagles, plus the geography and the land and the weather and all that crazy stuff. So I see Carol Honeymoon Huff asked if we can tell how old they are. Oh, can I say that? Can I jump in there? Yeah. Yes, we can, Carol. It's up until they're 5 years old. The bird, the eagle in that picture right there is 5 years old or older. They have the full white plumage. They have a yellow beak and yellow eyes. And what happens is most interesting. Before that, they're mottled or camouflage looking, and they don't change. Their feathers don't change color. They actually have to lose them and grow new feathers to replace those feathers. And so, I don't know if I'll have pictures here of immature ones, but people oftentimes mistake bald eagles, golden eagles, for immature ones because they're more colored like that. So, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And then we also had a question from David Howden, going back to the eagles wanting fish and sometimes crabs on the boats, I think. He asks, is there any persecution of the eagles if they raid the fisherman's catch?
No, boy. Yeah, there's probably a jerk somewhere. I don't see it, but they're not really raiding our catch. They're gleaning from our nets. And I always told my guys, I said, it's a small price to pay to have these guys hanging around because they're not taking anything that's of any market value. They're taking what's available. And of course, it's illegal to hassle eagles, but it's a really interesting, Christian could really speak to this because he brought it up quite a few times, how close the humans and eagles live together. And, for the most part, I wouldn't say we ignore each other, but we're just living our lives. It's not like we're in each other's way. There's plenty of food. And, I really appreciate them. I know quite a few other people do too. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, there's a related, another comment, a good comment here from Terry Green. And maybe this is a question for Christian and Captain Jack. These eagles don't have that healthy fear of humans the way that they do in the lower 48. Is it due to peaceful, close coexistence and respect? Thank you.
That would be a very good statement. Yeah. They live in close proximity, and the eagles are not like what would I call that? It's not like a sheep rancher with wolves. There's nothing like that going on. The eagles just the eagles, there might be a 6-month fishing season. They know how to survive the other 6 months. They don't have to have a fishing boat there. The herring runs, my gosh, the herring runs are amazing, and they come right before they're nesting, so they fatten up on herring. It's just a wonderful part of nature. Those kind of things, I don't see them struggling at all, but and I don't really see them getting in humans' way, so it's a good deal.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. I mean, this is always what amazed me so much about Dutch Harbor is the coexistence for decades. And it's not the only place, by the way, where this exists. It exists in Japan too, in Hokkaido, northern Japan. I've seen it together with David Hancock. Also a very good coexistence of human beings and eagles during winter time, where times are very tough, and they also come quite close there. So yeah.
Yeah, and I seem to remember from our episode on the Conowingo Dam that it seemed to be maybe the case there too, that the eagles were not very afraid of people, and that the Conowingo Dam is, I forget where it's located, in the east coast of the United States, I believe, of the
yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And another good question. Wow, we just have great question after great question. And maybe we can advance the slide too, just to see
go ahead.
Pictures.
No telling what's coming.
But
have you ever taken a selfie? Eagle selfie?
Yeah, very appropriate as Christians taking a selfie with this bird. Mara Gross asks, do these bald eagles recognize human individuals that they regularly see? They're always watching everything and they have different personalities. Yeah, do they fly away as a group if one gets frightened? I guess it's a second question, but yeah.
I never really noticed them. Well, maybe they like me. I don't know. It's flying away if they're afraid. But I did notice some of them had their own personalities. Let's say, oh, here comes Grumpy. He'd come on the boat and start knocking other birds around. Or this guy's kind of a coward. He never gets enough to eat. So I think it's the same in nature as survival of the fittest sort of thing. They're very smart animals, but I will say the ravens tend to trick them quite often and get their food. It's fun to watch because the ravens are like the circus coming to town. The huge ravens up there. Christian can tell you this. A raven will not let you take his picture. Christian pulled his camera out.
And it's so true. It's unbelievable. As soon as you no matter what, they just fly off, and they never will fly off if you just look at them. But if you point the camera at them, I have never seen anything like that.
It looks too much like a gun or something.
I don't know.
They don't like it. Would be my guess. Yeah, I've noticed this.
Yeah, you always feel like they're laughing at you, like they got one over on you. It's so fun to watch them. And I laughed at Christian because I knew they weren't going to let him take a picture. So he went at it for days. He wanted beautiful birds, So
yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah, as David Howden says, few things as smart as a corvid. That is true. Ravens are in the family Corvidae, for those who don't know. Yeah.
I got a couple Raven stories that are kind of scary smart. Like, you can't believe how smart they are. So, anyway.
Well, and ravens, I don't remember if it's crows or ravens, but there is a study, going back to Mara's first part of her question, there is a study where crows recognize faces. Or ravens recognize faces. And they did this study where they used face masks like for Halloween and to make, I guess, to give people the same face over a long period of time. And they basically did was have people put on the face masks and then like harass the crows or something like that. And then, years later, they had, some other poor group of grad students or whatever put on the face masks and go outside, and the crows just all went nuts. They remembered over a really long time, like these people are jerks. But yeah, I don't know about if eagles can do it.
Oh my gosh.
Another comment from Linda Francis that I'm very excited to see. Linda says, we have a lake house in Missouri. The bald eagles are wonderful. I would love to see more of them because I love watching them. I'm excited to see that because I'm moving to Missouri on Friday. So I don't know. It's exciting for me to hear about things in Missouri to be excited about.
Well, Linda, you can be encouraged because I recently read in the 1960s, they estimated 400 pairs of bald eagles in the lower 48. And recently they estimate now 27,000 pairs of bald eagles in the lower 48. So they are everywhere. I mean, they're not, of course, they're not as thick as Dutch Harbor, but they are everywhere. It's really cool.
Yeah, really making a comeback.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see what else I got on Christian here. I put quite a few Christian pictures in.
Yeah, I'm loving this. This is great. This really is like low-key sort of roasting or teasing of Christian in today's episode. I really like it.
Yeah, there's that thing about, do you look like your dog? I think he looks like that eagle.
Yeah, they have the same expression. Christian is like, this is my adopted son.
Yeah. He landed on the truck. We were photographing eagles in front of the truck, and this eagle landed on the truck. And I'm pointing at Christian. I didn't want to say anything. I'm pointing, look behind you. It was amazing. And he stayed there for about 5 minutes. I don't know what he was doing. Just bugging us.
That's so funny. Oh, wow. This looks like Christian the Eagle Whisperer.
Yep. There's a good story here, too. We went to this beach, and it was gorgeous conditions. It was a rare sunny day, but, of course, it was windy, very windy. And there's big sand dunes off to the right in this picture. And the sand blew so hard, it's volcanic sand. It's black and gritty, sharp stuff. Both our cameras packed up. We couldn't focus. Our shutters wouldn't work. So, I'm going to go back to the truck and clean things up. And not Christian, he's going to pull out his iPhone and keep photographing. So I got this shot of him just before my camera packed up. You can see the dirt on the feet of that eagle.
Yeah, it was incredible. I remember the sand was so biting in your eyes, and even on your hands. I couldn't hold the camera, and you're right. The DSLRs packed up, and it was amazing. There I was with the iPhone taking pictures, and they came so close. It was incredible. Yeah.
He kept saying I should have brought a wide-angle lens.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool too.
Yeah, this is a good shot, and it has a lot kind of packed into it. We pulled up in this blinding snowstorm, and these 7 adult eagles had their back to these crab pots and were out of the weather, and you could barely see it, but on the right is an immature eagle, kind of hunched down. His eyes were weeping. He was faced straight into the snow, and it just struck me that something's going on here. It's like these 7 adults are called him to the carpet, and he's in trouble, and these guys are like the old wise men, and they're in their comfortable chairs, and they're calling this young guy out. So this actually launched my book, my novel. It started me on thinking that these eagles have something going on, that just because we don't know what they're doing. But it was like I snuck up on them. It was so much snow, I was ready to give up and go back to the truck, and I came around the corner, and there was this scene, and I got like one shot. So that was one of those moments. I'm sure Christian remembers that day. We shot a lot of photographs.
It's phenomenal. I think what is remarkable about Jack is he sees those type of details that I didn't pick up at all. He would see a lot on the type of interaction, and he's the storyteller, really, who can make stories out of these. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Christian, he taught me this, is that him and I photographed the same things, but we come up with very different photos. And it was just our personalities. It was just what we saw through the lens, and people say, oh, you got this great shot. You got a really good camera. And I always like to think, well, I baked a really good pie, but you never told me I got a really good oven, So it really isn't the camera. It's just you shoot a lot and you show a few. You just have to. David, yeah, about blowing sand. They have a third eyelid. Eagles have a clear lens that comes over their eye. It's called a nictitating membrane, and they can actually see through it, and they can dive and get in the dirt or whatever, and their eyes are protected. I call them blast shields. It's amazing when they flap those things shut, and you're looking at them that you think they're on the attack, So, yeah, it's a very cool feature. A lot of animals have a nictitating membrane. Okay, we got another slide, or
Jack, I think this is supposed to be a video. I'm not quite sure.
You got to double click it.
Double click. Let me try.
Click once and then click again.
Okay, wait a sec.
If we can get it to work.
I'll try. I can't promise this. Hang on. What happened now? Wait a minute.
Yeah,
you just try it.
You get it bumped up and then click it once, and if it's gonna play, it's gonna play. No big deal.
Yeah. In the meantime, maybe we'll just.
Sorry, I'll just move on. I'm sorry, Jack.
That's fine. No, it's all right. This is another kind of inspirational photo for me, because these clans lived in different areas. This is Corner by the Sea. But you'll notice some things here. The eagles don't like being on the ground. Every one of them is up on a stump there. But the ravens are on the ground. They're willing to take a back seat, but if their food shows up, those ravens will trick those eagles out of that food. I've seen them do it over and over. It's just crazy. But that's a very typical scene if you're watching for it. This was taken with a tiny little digital camera, an $89 camera I bought from a vending machine. So you don't need big, expensive equipment. You need to have the eye and shoot a lot. So.
By the way, that remark here from Lucia is very relevant. We've had a lot of disturbing declines of also eagle population here on the Pacific Northwest, probably due to avian flu. I don't know if it's Asian flu, but avian flu. So yes, yeah, that's probably what you're trying to say. But the autocorrect also always gets me too. So anyway.
Yep. Okay, let's see if we got. I'm not sure how many I put in here. I'm sorry, I don't have it. Okay, so that's that's not all that's up there. This is the humpback whales show up. When I was a fisherman, I would watch for them in May, and when they show up, they have been gone for 8 months, and they haven't eaten for 8 months. When they leave Alaska, they don't eat, and when they come back, they're so hungry, and the females are almost dead because the babies have been nursing on them. Anyway, they will gorge themselves for 4 months on the richest food that they could possibly imagine. And when they get about before August, they're pretty busy just eating 24/7. But about August and September, they get so playful because I think they're like food drunk. They've eaten so much and they're so fat. They're ready for a whole nother year. It's just amazing. You've heard of 2% milk, right? Nope, everybody's probably nodding their head. 2% milk, and I don't know what half and half is, but a mother whale's milk is 50% fat. It's liquid fat, and that baby grows 50 pounds a day. So it's just another one of those amazing miracles of nature up there, and I've been really fortunate to see it. I would see sometimes 1,000 whales at once. We called it the Bering Sea sprinkler system. There's no people there. There's no buildings. There's no industry. It's just, Christian can tell you this. It's just when you fly in, it's just empty for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, it's so amazing, and the winds are so strong that I think it's a Saab. What is it?
Yep.
Yeah. With I think 38 or 40 passenger seats. But they did crash. Fortunately, not with us, but they did with the winds. They crashed.
They did. Yeah.
You know more about that, Jack. It's crazy.
Well, nobody has died flying into Dutch Harbor, so that's a good record, I'll tell you, for considering the weather.
But planes have suffered, and they used to land with these big jets, but they stopped that because they couldn't land. Isn't that so? Right?
Well, they hammered them. They ruined them.
Yeah. You guys are fascinated by the planes and the winds and these miracles of man succeeding with flight despite this, but I'm still hooked, and so is David Dunn. It sounds like I'm still hooked on these baby whales gaining 50 pounds a day when they're growing. That is an insane, crazy number to me. That is amazing.
Well, they're drinking 50% fat, and they got to be ready for a long trip in September, October, all the way down to Baja or to Maui. That's a long trip and they don't eat. So they pack it on.
Well, I mean, that means like they're drinking 50 pounds of milk a day, right? Like, so the mom, like that's just sure. 50 pounds of milk. Oh my God.
Well, the eagles have to be ready for the winter too. These young eagles, I watched 2 eagles on a cliff just over from our boat one day, and I could hear these babies just screeching and screeching and screeching, and they were big. I thought, man, they're probably ready to fly. Well, their parents were at the base of the cliff with a big codfish, and they're ripping it apart, and they weren't going to feed the babies anymore. They had to get out of the nest. So that was their way. If you have some kids living at home that you need to get out of the house, just lock the refrigerator, right? They'll move.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I have a question from Gentleman Ghost. Has Jack seen any erupting volcanoes in his sailing trips? Does Dutch Harbor get earthquakes frequently?
The answers are yes to that, everything. The Aleutians are the most seismically active place in the world. I've seen, 25 different volcanoes at different times. Sometimes it's just ash, sometimes it's flowing lava. And an earthquake from a boat is a very different thing. It's a very different feeling. But Yeah, earthquakes and volcanoes are very common in the Aleutians.
And another question from Rachel Freeman. Are there a lot of bald eagles in the Oregon area? I'm heading that way in October. I think the answer is yes, especially areas with water, even lakes
Yeah,
nearby.
Rachel, there's an area called the Bald Eagle Sanctuary on the Columbia River, and it's down near Astoria. It's, I think it's Brownsmead or Brownsville. Just look up Oregon Eagle Sanctuary. And what happens is a lot of the eagles, and Christian's familiar with this, they'll come down from Alaska for the winter and they hang out down there, and they hang out on in Vancouver also. They like that Pacific Northwest. It's a temperate climate, and there's still plenty to eat.
Very cool. Oh, and this is a
Good luck.
beautiful sunset, it looks like.
Yeah, that was actually midnight sun. That's, when you're up there in the winter, up there in the summer, that could be 1 or 2 in the morning. That's why that's how nature piles it on so heavy during the summer. I mean, it's an explosion of life. Everything is eating everything. It's just packing it in, and it's light out, so they never stop. It's 24/7, And then come winter, they hibernate, or they hunker down, or they move, or they leave, or it's a breadbasket for nature. It's just a cool thing. So it's been there we go. And that's me. I'm a terrible advertiser. I'm not very good at promoting myself. I do have a website that I probably haven't looked at in a couple of months, but I am writing a book, and I know I got to promote it and do all that. So I sure appreciate you having me on board here, getting through the technical stuff.
Yeah, we totally appreciate you coming online as well. So yeah, everyone, check out Jack's website if you want to see more, if you want to keep up to date with the books. Thank you so much for sharing all of your photos and experiences with us.
Yeah, and hold your breath. Jack and I are going to do something together one day again.
Okay.
This guy is very persistent, and he has.
I'm very excited about that now that I've seen how many funny, candid shots of Christian that you
I have
Jack.
so many. Sometimes I feel like I just went to photograph him photographing because he was so excited, right? He would look up from his camera and go, "This is the best day of my life."
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, he's so enthused. It's infectious. I mean, it really is. Get us out there and standing in the cold. So anyway, thanks, folks, for checking in. It's been great.
Well, thanks so much, Jack. Really, thank you, and good luck with your book. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're wrapping it up. We're down to the last 3 chapters or so. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jack, for joining us. And thank you also so much for everyone who joined in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to keep seeing the show. So, Jack, thank you. And I want to close this out maybe with something that I did not run by Christian.
Yes, I remember. I know what you're going to do. Yes.
Oh, you're going to do, you don't know all of it though. So
of course not.
I would like to start closing the show with a little video clip, maybe a moment of mindfulness or a moment of nature at the end of each show. What do you think? I mean, Christian does a lot of filming. Should be
That's
easy.
Wonderful. Of course.
Yeah. And I just got back from Austin. I was there, Austin, Texas, just a few hours ago, and they have a bridge in the city with bats that live in the bridge. It is the biggest urban colony of bats in the world. So of course I had to go, and I took a video of them emerging. So I was thinking for our first moment of mindfulness, we can close out with the video. What do you think, Christian?
I think it's great. My question immediately, when did you know they were going to come out? Does it always happen at a certain time and all these things?
You can look it up they have all kinds of information about it on the city website. My Uber driver was telling me about it. She was like, "Oh, are you going to see the bats?" It's like a big thing there. So I went at about 7:30 p.m. The bats started coming out at about 8:15. So with that being said, I guess here's the bats. Join us next week. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Let's see. Let's share my screen. don't know why it's not playing.
It's really magical.
It is.
I feel like it's at like a wedding when they release a bunch of butterflies. This is that magical moment. You smell it. The air smells like before.
Wow, that is amazing, Georgia.
Yep.
I'm just the only thing I missed is I thought you're going to be Bat Lady and just go behind them. I mean,
Maybe
what
next
happened?
time. All right. See you everyone next week. Same
Okay,
time,
see
same place.